How did your crazy ex become your crazy ex? Story 1. She cut out my head from yearbooks and put them on corkboards on her headboard. I found out because one of her friends told me she did, and so I wanted to see for myself. She was working during the day and I was close with her brother who let me in when I said I needed to grab something from her bedroom. I walked in and, sure enough, my head in a bunch of muscular bodies that weren't mine. I broke up with her the next day after seeing the Hey Arnold-esque shrine. Following the breakup, she would drive on my street and stop and wait outside and see if my light was on. It wasn't, mainly because I knew she would do that. Then she would call me and leave voicemails of her breathing rather heavily. She then tried to get me jealous of her having another guy, which I was everything but jealous of, and she actually did the deed and got knocked up with said guy, which kind of backfired on her. So, happy ending, I guess? I wonder if she named the baby after him. I sure hope not. Story 2. She claimed her dad got violent with her, then came to spend the weekend, told me her mom died, and had to stay with me because she had nowhere to go. Brought guys over to do the deed in my bed while I was at work, unknown to me at the time, and one time I came home early from work, she still had a guy hiding in the restroom, unknown to me at the time. I got her a job at my friend's company and she showed up for one day, then never showed up again. Unknown to me at the time, my friend didn't mention it. Stole my social security number and took out credit cards in my name to buy lots of clothes and never paid off the credit cards. Told me she was on the pill, but wasn't. Oh, and of course, her mom wasn't really dead. Then her mom starts calling me telling me she was going to end me. Stored grass in my house, stole my car. I was too trusting. I found her online years later. She changed her name. Story 3. Oh, I had one mega crazy ex. This girl was 5 kinds of messed up in the head and needed to be locked the heck up. First, she had a kid. I didn't doubt that. I saw her stretch marks. Not a big deal. She claimed the kid had been taken away by the baby daddy and disappeared. Okay, stranger things have happened. Things started not adding up soon. She was a pathological liar. Started with, I make $60 an hour in the military, which I knew was BS for her rank, since my mom was a higher rank than she was and made far less than that. She stole my car one night, and by the time the cops got there, she was already back and claimed innocence, and the cops threatened to arrest me for making a false report. Then, she tried playing the ultimate psycho card and said she'd had a call saying her kid and daddy had been in a wreck in Canada, and the kid passed away. At first, I wasn't sure whether to call BS on that or not. 2 days later, she tried to end it all. While she was in the hospital, I did some digging and found out that she and her husband got a divorce, and he was awarded custody due to her being a complete nutbag. I noped out of there as fast as I could. It took them a bit, but they dodged that bullet like Neo. Kudos. Story 4. I told her after 3 years of dating that I was actually a war refugee from Chechnya. She just knew I was from Russia, nothing more, and I'd seen a lot of horrible things during my childhood. I saw people being executed, bombs exploding, dodging snipers, etc. Never really told anybody this in my life since I came to America. I told her because I was pretty sure I wanted to spend my future with her. I told her it was a massive deal that I told her this in the first place because I hadn't ever told anyone. She left me right afterward because she assumed I was crazy or mentally damaged from all the stuff I went through. She said she didn't want to date some scary war refugee. The worst part was that her parents, who I mostly communicated through because she refused to talk to me, believed it too. They said horrible things to me about it, saying I was a criminal, junkie, that I would end up getting violent with her, that I'm just another street Arab. I am Azeri, not Arab. They basically put their foot down and said I could never date someone like their daughter. One of the worst weeks of my life. Really made me lose faith in long-term relationships, girls. For all those curious, it wasn't an immediate thing. She always found me sketchy in a way because I was from the bad part of Brooklyn and she knew I had a history with hard substances in my teens even after I came to America. She was scared of that stuff. She wouldn't go to certain bars and clubs that had a certain type of person. She preferred yuppie bars. She came from white, upper-class suburbs, so right there was a major divide in how we grew up. Apparently, that divide made her really uncomfortable. Like she couldn't relate to me, and finding out I am a war refugee just was the last straw for her.
Oh my God! What is that?
If you two are asking what that is, it's the sponsor of today's video, Rufus Rugs. We've been hard at work, creating the best quality and premium hand-tufted rugs money can buy. Now there's a chance you own a carpet that looks something like this. Let's just be real, it's time for an upgrade. And luckily for you, me and the boys from Rufus Rugs are at your service. We don't make those average cheap quality looking rugs. Nope, not gonna happen. Each one is handcrafted to perfection. No shortcuts, no robot assembly lines, and no dropshipping BS. Just pure rug grind. Whether you love anime, sports, cars, or anything else you can think of, we can turn it into a rug. So click the first link in the description and have your custom idea come to life.
Story 5. My cat disappeared. Strange, she was a friendly cat. An upstairs neighbor with big dogs came down screaming that my ex had somehow convinced both dogs to jump out the window too. She attacked me with sharp objects, on different days, gave some guy sloppy in his car outside of our apartment, finally turned on her hairdryer and threw it in the shower with me. Takes the time to piss me off. I should probably elaborate a bit. 2 disclaimers, I was young and stupid and she was really hot. This doesn't excuse my not bugging out much sooner, but it might give you some insight into my frame of mind. The above is pretty much all in chronological order. Regarding the cat, not really that unusual. It was an indoor-outdoor cat, so any number of things may have happened to him. A neighbor may have thought he was a stray and taken him in. He may have been involved in a car accident while he was out on a prowl. I have no idea. It's more of an, in retrospect, I wouldn't be at all surprised if that crazy witch ended him thing. The dogs, now that's much stranger. My ex hated those dogs. They were big and noisy and ran around the upstairs apartment playing all the time. As such, she started a bit of a war with the upstairs neighbor who was herself pretty nuts. I stayed out of it. My ex had said several times that she was going to end those dogs, but I passed it off as just being annoyed with the constant noise. Hell, I didn't like it either. But otherwise, the apartment was great, so we weren't really too excited to find a new one. The incident, whatever it was, happened while I was at work. I came home to the crazy neighbor screaming at my crazy ex about how my ex somehow had coaxed the dogs to jump from the window. Now, my ex was very petite and those were big dogs, so there was no way she could have broken into the neighbor's apartment and yeeted the dogs out. I've owned a few dogs in my life. No matter how stupid they are, they were never so dumb as to just fling themselves out. Now, I have no idea what actually happened, and to this day, all this happened like 20 years ago. I can't explain it, at all. But at this point, I did start looking at my ex from the corner of my eye, wondering. Being aggressive, well, these incidents proved beyond a doubt that she was dangerous. But both happened in the heat of a moment, during arguments. As I mentioned earlier, she was quite petite, and I was much faster than her, so I had a little trouble disarming her without really being in harm's way myself. I mean, it wasn't like she was going to just try to end me in my sleep, right? Yeah. I forgot to mention there was another instance, where she tried to spray me in our apartment. Inside, windows closed. I just backed up and raised one eyebrow like, what are you even doing? The mace just settled in a big cloud in the middle of the room, missing me entirely. This really made her mad. She charged in for another go with her can. Straight into the cloud she just created. She dropped like a rock. I rolled my eyes. Okay, come on, let's get you to the bathroom and wash this out. The makeup action was great. But at this point, the relationship was pretty much over. It was just a matter of actually officially ending it, which neither of us really seemed to want to do. All of these things, of course, happened over a few years, and of course, in the time between these instances, it was all normal boyfriend and girlfriend stuff. Shopping, vacations, laughter, dinners, and talking about the future, and of course, arguments and fights. Some her fault, some mine. Most, we were both to blame. It wasn't like it was 2 or 3 years of nothing but crazy 100% of the time. Relationships aren't that simple. Anyway, near the end, we had both sort of stopped caring. That's when I caught her getting it on with a guy in a car outside the apartment. That was the, well, this is 100% done moment. It was failing before, but I had hopes you could still work through it or something. Like I said, I was young and stupid, and she was hot. But nah, done. So I set my mind and attention to finding a new place. Didn't even want to bother with fighting over the apartment. It wasn't that nice. I just wanted out. Oddly, we were getting along fine now. We'd both accepted it, or so I thought. One day I came home before her and hopped in the shower. The past several days had actually been great. Laughs, intimacy, cooking, like a normal couple. She comes home while I'm still in the shower, walks into the bathroom, turns on her hairdryer, and without a word, without emotion, just throws it in the shower with me. Just a dead-eyed stare. I pulled a freaking Matrix slow-motion action jump, arms out, water droplets slowly flying out in some sort of hyper-reality as if, well, someone had just thrown a hairdryer in your shower. Probably yelled, "What the hell?" Then I got dressed and walked the heck out. Came to get my things later with an army of friends. Ends your cat, ends neighbors' dogs, tries to end you, gets frisky with random dudes, tries to end you again, they're still together. If you want someone as patient as this guy, leave a like in this video and subscribe to the channel. Story 6. I tried to end things several times and always got guilt-tripped into taking him back. When I finally told him I was ending it for good, he asked if we could still be friends. I said, of course, we could. I was 17 years old, naive, and did not yet understand how complicated staying friends is. A few days later, he invited me to his house to play Guitar Hero. As friends, of course. I thought it would be fine because his other friend was going to be there too. Like I said, naive, or stupid, or both. When I got to his house, he had a drink in his hand. Red flag number 1. In the year I dated him, he never had a drink. As he drank more, he began asking me to stay over one last time and begging me to give him one last kiss. For obvious reasons, I became incredibly uncomfortable and told him I was leaving. He followed me up the stairs and cornered me in the entranceway, refusing to let me leave. He was crying, I was screaming and crying, and his friend was yelling at him to let me go. I managed to take out my cell phone and call my mom, but he yanked it out of my hands before I could say anything to her. Luckily, she heard me screaming before he hung up, got in her car, and hauled to his place. With the help of his friend, I managed to get out of the house and into my mom's car. He stood in front of it, in bare feet in the snow, but I think he realized my mom probably would have run him down. Not really, but she was definitely in defense mode, because he got out of the way. That was just the beginning of months of BS, including his attempt of self-harm and various incidents of I was really messed up about it for a really long time. Story 7. Genetics. Both of her parents were full-on crazy, so I shouldn't have been surprised when she started stalking me after she cheated on me and I dumped her. She threatened a few of my, and by extension our, female friends with physical violence just for being around me and tried to get me fired from my job. She called my manager and told him that I was on grass, nothing further from the truth, and had two of her other friends come into my store and be extremely angry customers saying I'd felt them up or some damn thing. Fortunately, my boss knew all about what was going on and didn't buy any of it. Story 8. She woke me up because I had night sweats and she was convinced I had AIDS. For some reason, I decided to appease her and got a full STD screen, including an expensive AIDS test. A few weeks later, I drove to her house to give her my signed note. I had to specifically request, stating my clean bill of health. She accused me of forging the entire thing and in the following argument pulled the plates out of the cupboard and frisbeed them at me. I left immediately. About 6 months later, I had just started dating my now fiancé. She contacted me to tell me she believed me and wanted to know if she and her 2 dogs could move in with me. I never responded. Story 9. First, she became my ex, but not before we booked and paid for a non-refundable trip to Thailand for 2 weeks. Fast forward 7 months, we haven't really spoken, but it's time to go to Thailand together, and we decide we're going to be adults about this and enjoy the trip to the other side of the planet together. Okay, no problem. That's an admirable decision for both parties. Once we're in Thailand together, sharing a room and a bed, she informs me she has a new boyfriend. Wow, that was fast after our many years together, but kudos. One day while I'm in the shower, she goes through my phone and reviews all my text messages. Then she loses her marbles because I've been talking and texting other girls. That's right. The girl with a new boyfriend is foaming at the mouth, rage screaming at me for moving on with my life. That's when she became my crazy ex. To be fair, sharing a bed with an ex you've hardly talked to in months isn't a recipe for cool heads and good decision-making. Story 10. When we broke up, he moved into my neighbor's apartment and would hang around outside waiting for me to take the trash out or leave for work. They had a surveillance camera on their front door since they were dealers, so every time I came home, he'd be moping around outside trying to get me to come outside. I ended up moving out of state. On a trip back home, we'd been on better terms and were planning on meeting up for a drink. Before that happened, I found out he got this girl pregnant, and she didn't want it. Whatever, totally her choice. Not my business, but I called off the drinks and told him I knew what was going on, and I had no interest in being involved in that drama. He tried to say he didn't even know if it was his. He told the girl he got pregnant with he was going to end it all, blah, blah, blah. Before I left town, I had a card in my dad's driveway from my ex. He wrote all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't remember what it said, but I do remember the poorly sketched and messed up picture he drew of the kid. Story 11. I've been meaning to get this off my chest for a while. As soon as I ended up with my current girlfriend, I quickly realized how I had been manipulated by my previous girlfriend. My ex-girlfriend, we dated for about 3 years at the end of high school, had horrible anger issues, self-diagnosed borderline personality disorder, attachment problems, validation issues, motivation issues, and other delusions. The worst part about it was that I wasn't the one who had pulled the trigger on the breakup in the first place. And that's not to say I was perfect either. I lied and had become mentally disconnected from that relationship months prior to our relationship. She changed my personality so much that I still see flashes of her anger and malcontent in myself, and it scares me quite a bit. We found ourselves so engrossed in the idea of having a serious relationship that we would do anything to keep it alive in any way we possibly could. She had attachment problems and had to have a boyfriend or she wasn't happy. I thought throughout the entire relationship that she was far out of my league and I would never get anyone better, so I stayed. We both hung on to our horrible high school drama for so long that I feel there's a permanent mark on both of us because of it. What haunts me the most is the sweet bliss that came with the good times. When we weren't fighting, when we were getting along, things felt just perfect. When things were good, the stresses of life seemed to melt away. But when it was bad, it was nasty. We both were catty, we both were insulting, and we both said horrible, intentionally hurtful things to each other. I hope that she's happier now. I know that I am. These guys would have been happier if they had more Cinnamon Toast Crunch in the house. I know I would. Story 12. It was Valentine's Day and I was sick on the couch all day. She sent me a text from work asking what we were doing. I said that I was ill and maybe we should reschedule for another day. She responded with, "Okay, well maybe we can make soup and watch a movie." I said, "Sure." So I carry my sick butt off the couch and grab ingredients to make soup and pick up a red box she wanted to see on the way home. Make soup and finish it by the time she gets home. Long and short of it, we get into a massive argument because she can't believe I just made her soup and grabbed a movie and thought that would suffice for Valentine's Day. I thought I was in the Twilight Zone or some alternate universe. After trying to remain calm and show her the text she sent me about tonight, she was still being crazy, so like any loving boyfriend would do, I lost my marbles and told her to get the hell out of my house while flipping her off. Yes, it was overkill and I don't feel good about it. That was pretty much the end of it. To this day, I still can't believe someone made me that mad. Story 13. I noticed my undies were going missing. I mentioned it while doing the laundry. He accused me of cheating, saying I must have left my things at some dude's house I was cheating with and began berating me for the missing items. I was pregnant with his child at the time. I kicked him out, scared of how I was going to support myself while I was about to give birth and miss work for 6 weeks. I began packing his things to keep my fried mind busy. Find a big box hidden in the basement full of my missing undies, huge inflatable toys, and trans videos. My thigh highs were tied in knots with hair sticking out of them. I put in a videotape labeled with my name. It's him dressed as me with my clothing on, taking care of himself, pretending to be me. Turns out he was a secret crossdresser with a violent history and multiple substance charges. Lied about everything from his education to his orientation. I don't trust human beings anymore. Story 14. Painted my name all over his bedroom, bathroom, and lounge room. Proposed and then photoshopped us into wedding pictures, sent invites to all his family, mine, and my friends. Got an ultrasound photo online and tried to announce to Facebook we were expecting a baby. Shaved our initials into his cat and left hundreds of love letters taped to my car. So that was crazy. We went on half a double date with friends. I was just being a good sport. Noped out when he proposed when my food came. The rest came over the next week. To clarify, as I feel it wasn't clear, this was all after the one and only date. This wasn't a we dated for months and then his crazy came out. This was, we met an hour ago. Why are you proposing to me? All I can think about is how much it must suck to be that dude's cat. Story 15. Would start arguments out of thin air because I'm drama, this is who I am. Then one day I went drinking in her hometown and she ran into her ex. A day later she said, sorry, but I'm going to start dating him again. 2 days after that, she was begging to get back together. Nope, messaged me occasionally for a few years to go out for a drink, but eventually stopped when she got knocked up. Good luck to the guy who knocked her up. In addition to being an absolute gem of a personality, she had awful genetics and family. Story 16. I want to say we were both each other's crazy exes. He cheated on me, begged me not to break up with him, then repetitively threatened and even attempted once to end it all after I broke up with him. And then of course me, being really upset about being cheated on, I returned his shirts and hoodies he had given to me, in shreds. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you made it this far, I'm sure you'll also enjoy. How did you catch your significant other cheating? Story 4 was ridiculous. See you in that video.